Hey guys, Rob Hogue. For those of you guys who follow the channel, you know I haven't been putting out videos a lot lately, and that's mainly because of the boat that I just purchased. I've been going out with that, trying to get used to the boat itself and learn the electronics and kind of get used to fishing these bigger bodies of water. And that's really what the video is going to be about today. Is transitioning from small lakes, and when I say small lakes, I was mainly fishing lakes that were, you know, maybe 100 or 200 acres in size. Maybe I think the biggest one I fished is like 290 acres. But going from that to fishing lakes, I fished one that was 5,000 acres and one that was 9,500 acres. So it's a huge difference. It's a big transition, and I just wanted to kind of go over some of the things that I did well, some of the things that I realized that I wasn't doing well, and just kind of tips on how to handle that in case you're going through a similar transition or you will be going through a similar transition in the future. Maybe some of the things I've learned or some of the tips that I've come up with might help you in your transition and maybe get you through your transition a little bit easier than mine. With that being said, the boat's great. I love it. I still loved my John boat. I caught a lot of big fish on my John boat, a lot of fish, a lot of good memories, but this thing's comfortable. It's so much more comfortable. It's not as taxing on your body. I can go out and fish. I fished 5 days straight, which I would never have been able to do in the John boat. And but it is different, and there is a learning curve, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So it is a long video, so be ready for that. But yeah, this isn't a video to just stop by and check out. This is a video for people who are dealing with similar situations or want to know some good information on what to expect when they're making these transitions. I'll make another fishing video here in a couple days. But first, the first thing I can tell you is it is a big transition. And honestly, it's harder than I thought it was going to be. And we'll get into some of the reasons why. But I realized after a half a day, I'm like, I knew I wasn't fishing good. I wasn't fishing right. I wasn't approaching this right. And after a couple days, I kind of sat down and kind of gave myself some honest feedback and came up with a better game plan. So we'll get into this. First and foremost, when you go to a big lake, especially making that transition from going to a small lake to a big lake, you need to research big lakes. That becomes so much more important than it is on small lakes. Small lakes you have all day to fish a couple hundred acres, and you can do it in a day. Where a big lake, when I'm fishing Candlewood in Connecticut and it's 9,500 acres, I try to fish the way I used to fish. You're not going to get out of the first little bay. You can't fish it the same way. You got to change the way you fish. But the biggest thing that's going to help you be able to change the way you fish is to know as much about that lake as you possibly can. And a lot of times those bigger lakes have more information available to you. Especially the internet, you can almost find anything on the internet. But some of the things I looked for, maps. I have a chart plotter, so I had the map readily available to me, and I could put waypoints and stuff like that. But if you don't have a chart plotter, go to Google Earth or Google Maps and look at the satellite view of those lakes, and you can figure out so much from that. You can figure out, you know, if there's how many docks there are, how many points there are. You can even see you can see the points under the water sometimes and see what they're made of, if it's chunk rock or not. You can see riprap on the bank. You can see laydowns. You can see stumps sticking out of the water. And it also helps you just for navigational purposes to know what to expect before you get there. Also, you want, in your searches on the internet, you're going to want to find out the other type of sport fish in the lake. Just because, I mean, you're marking fish on your sonar or something like that, not every arch is a bass. And if you know that there's trout and you're seeing fish suspended they might be in 40 feet of water, but they're in the top 10 feet of the water column. Okay, that's not a bass. So, but it's very important to know what other type of species you have in the lake. Also, very important to figure out what type of bait, what type of forage these fish, the forage options these fish have in this lake. Whether it's shad or gizzard shad or alewives or bluegill, perch, crappie, whatever it is. It's very important to know that, not only for what colors the fish, but also where to fish. And we'll get into that a little bit later. Also, you're looking for the different cover. A lot of times on Google Maps, you could see the vegetation and what type of vegetation it is from Google Maps. And you can zoom in over flats and see, okay, there's a lot of submerged grass here and stuff like that. So that's really important when it comes to trying to figure out a new lake. Also, if you don't have a chart plotter, it's very important for you to find contour maps of these lakes. In New York, if you live in New York, the DEC has, all DEC controlled lakes have contour maps on the DEC website, which I highly suggest you go on, print them off, and you can look at these maps and figure out, okay, where are the points, you can tell where creek channels are and things like that. And actually, it's just very important, especially when you're trying to figure out how to fish a new body of water, to have a map of that water. And lastly, fishing reports. A lot of these bigger lakes, there's a lot of tournaments and things like that, and you can find pretty good fishing reports and pretty good information about these lakes. I actually found a lake I just fished last Thursday, Greenwood Lake. It's kind of split between New York and New Jersey. It was probably the best fishing report I've ever seen. I was able to determine bottom composition in different areas of the lake. That the lake had alewives, perch, bluegill, pumpkin seed, muskie, pickerel, northern pike, smallmouth, largemouth, catfish, walleye, some lake trout, different types of trout. I don't know, I don't trout fish, but that's very important information for me. And the reason it's important is, from what I read, the alewives are the main forage base for the smallmouth. Now, that's important not only for color, but also it changes the seasonal habits of the smallmouth in that lake. There's not a huge smallmouth population in that lake, but there's a pretty good population. And shad, a lot of times, a lot of these lakes, smallmouth lakes, they'll have shad in them, or they're feeding on bluegill or crawfish or something like that. And a lot of these books, the textbooks tell you, in the fall, the smallmouth are going to move shallow and, catch them on top water in shallow flats early in the morning, and fish shallow for them in the fall. It's great. But when their main forage base is alewives stay deep most of the year. They're swimming in 25 to 70 feet of water. So your smallmouth are most likely going to stay deeper most of the year because their food is deeper. So they're going to stay deeper. And that's very important. If that lake only had smallmouth in it, and every book tells you to fish shallow for them, if you didn't use that information you learned from other sources, you'd be fishing shallow, not catching any fish, and even though it's loaded full of fish. So very important information. But I mean, fishing reports are huge. Also, lastly, when it comes to doing research, FishBrain. FishBrain is an app on your phone. It's like a social media for fishermen, and great people on there. I've met a lot of great people on FishBrain. Some of them are subscribed to the channel. Some of them I'll fish with in the future. But go to that lake, and basically you make an account and you select what type of fishing you do, and posts will show up of those types of fish. And you can go to, say, Candlewood in Connecticut. You go click on somebody's picture in Candlewood and ask them, what's the water clarity like at that lake, or any lake. And maybe somebody comes back and says, hey, yeah, you know what, it's like 10 to 15 feet. It's really clear here. That's important information for you to know. Not only for color selection, but also bait selection in general. For lure selection, because if you know it's a super clear lake, you can already put some things on the shelf and, okay, I need to go with these baits instead. But definitely do your research. It's going to help set a game plan, and that goes right into my next topic. Use your seasonal habits. Use the information that you gathered and formulate a game plan that covers water and eliminates water. You hear it all the time. You got to cover water in bass fishing. Yes and no. You have to cover water, but you also have to eliminate non-productive water. Okay? And how to do that is to have a game plan. Take all the information you just learned and the maps, the fishing reports, the bait, all these things, and you want to come up, how am I going to fish this lake as effectively as I can fish it, eliminating the things they're not on, and then focusing on the things they're fishing, that the fish are on. And it all comes being organized with a game plan. And I'm going to give you an example of the last day I went fishing, which was last Friday. I was out with a buddy of mine, and it's my second day on the lake, and it's a pretty big lake. It's Greenwood Lake in New York and New Jersey. Second time there. I didn't really know much about it. It's a little bit a drizzle, but I had a game plan. I want to fish a couple grass flats. So I fished a couple grass flats, didn't get bit, moved to a point. Fished the point, didn't get bit, moved into this little cove. Fished a couple docks, nothing. Fished a brush pile, got a bite. Brush pile in shallow water, got a bite. Fished a couple more docks, saw some lily pads, fished some lily pads, didn't catch anything. Fished a little bit more lily pads, didn't catch anything. Moved out, fished a steep chunk rock wall, didn't catch anything. Fished another point, didn't catch anything. Fished some docks, didn't catch anything. Fished some docks with wood pylons, didn't catch anything. Moved into a wind protected cove, didn't catch anything. And I tried about 2 of those coves. Then we went out deep and looked for some smallmouth. He caught one off a crankbait. We kind of ran with that for a little bit longer, didn't catch any more. Saw a bank with riprap and chunk rock. Fished that bank, nothing. Moved out, motored down the lake, and fished a stump field, nothing. So then I got back behind the graph, and I'm like, okay, this stuff's not working. We caught a fish deep, but we kept fishing, didn't get any more bites. Caught one fish off a little piece of brush, and that's really there was only a couple pieces of brushes there, so we didn't really get to do that. So I found the south of the lake is the Jersey side of the lake is mostly just a huge flat. I think it goes from the shore to about maybe 7 or 8 feet. And there was one small stretch, or 2 small stretches on the south end of that lake with no docks, no houses. So that was my best chance to find brush. So I ran down to the flat, the big flat, which is typical fall, bass like to be on the flat. Largemouth anyway. So I went to this little stretch on the map that didn't have any docks, and lo and behold, there was a couple little areas with brush on them. Made a cast, caught a 2.5 pound bass on the brush. My buddy caught a keeper off brush. Just started using the trolling motor going down, cast into another piece of brush, hooked into a 45-inch muskie. Which me or my buddy never caught before and couldn't figure out how to get him in the boat. Different story. My next cast, almost a 3-pounder. Next cast, my buddy caught another keeper. I caught another keeper. Then we came back through, didn't catch any more. Went to a different area with some brush on it. I caught 2, he caught 2. So by 1 o'clock, we had 2 fish. By 3:30, we had 16. And it's all because we had a game plan. We started eliminating the different things that those fish could have been on. Those fish could have very easily been on docks in shallow water. They could have very easily been on those flats out in open water, or the stump field, or the rock points, or the riprap. But they weren't. And I had a game plan in mind to try these areas and eliminate them until the fish told me what they wanted. And that's the biggest thing. You have to have a game plan, you have to stick to your game plan, But you also have to be open-minded enough to that once the fish start giving you clues and giving you signs, to stop the game plan right there and move that game plan into a different direction. And that was very important. And did I do it perfectly? No. I still think I wasted some time throughout the day that I think I could have done a lot better job and moved even faster. But it was my 5th day on the water, and I'll continue to get better. I'll continue to go through this process and go through this transition. But covering water is huge. From just 5 days, I've learned covering water is huge. Eliminating bad water is huge. The next thing is stick to that game plan. Don't get stuck. It's very easy. I could have very easily started fishing docks and just kept fishing docks, thinking to myself, you know what, one of these docks has got to hold some fish. And I wouldn't have caught any fish. I might have caught 1 or 2, but I wouldn't have caught a lot of fish. And a lot of times in these lakes around the country, fish all across the lake are on similar stuff. I don't know why that happens. I would love to know why that happens. But a lot of times, what you find them doing over here, you can find them doing in similar sections of the lake. You could have the fish in the north section and the fish in the south section doing completely different things. But in that general area, a lot of times they'll be doing the same things. Lastly, try to keep your expectations in check. It's a lot harder than I thought, guys. It really is a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. But I feel like for my first week, I figured a lot of good things out, and I figured some bad things out that I was doing that I'm not going to do anymore. So I feel like my first week I learned a lot, but it is tough. And you need to understand that you're not going to go from a 10 or 12 foot john boat with a trolling motor fishing 200-acre lake to go into a 35,000-acre lake and just smashing them. Most likely you're not going to do that. So go in there with a clear head, with a good game plan of just trying to catch a couple fish and learn how to fish that big water. It is a transition. There is a huge learning curve. It's a totally different type or way to fish. And it comes with its own set of challenges. And to be honest, lakes take a long time to learn a lot of times. You have people who fish lakes for years and they know all the small little secluded spots that are hard to find, and they know those spots, but it took them years to learn those spots. And big lakes are no different. There's going to be some small little rock pile out in the right depth that has a lot of smallmouth on it, and the only way you're going to know that's there is if you put that time in on the water to learn where those spots are. So keep your expectations in check. Enjoy the ride. I think making that transition and going through that learning curve is going to make you such a better bass fisherman. You're going to learn so much about you as a fisherman, about you technically, where you're at mechanically, and you're gonna appreciate the fish you catch more. A lot of times, fishing small lakes, it's like shooting fish in a barrel. Where here, you're gonna work for these fish, and eventually you're gonna figure it out, and you're gonna find them, and it's gonna make you that much better of a bass angler. So, guys, I know this was a super long video, but I feel it's an important topic. I wanted to get it out to you guys in case you're making those similar transitions. I wanted to make sure you guys had a better understanding of what to expect going into it. And hopefully some of you were going through this, and I hope it helps you. But if you like the stuff you're seeing here, subscribe. I also have a giveaway. You can check out a couple videos back. I did have doing a giveaway. So we'll talk to you again soon. I should have a video on the water coming out soon. So take care, guys.